right, here we go. We got a special episode of the ExStreamists. We're going to be talking Star Wars, but we're talking about all the Star Wars news that that was basically announced over the last 3-4 days.
Yeah,
everything at Celebration.
Yeah,
in London, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. So we're just gonna. I guess we can go through each one of them as fast as we can because I don't want to spend an hour and a half, 2 hours on this. Especially since we're supposed to be watching an episode of Mandalorian in about, 20, 40 minutes, whatever time it is right now. So, I mean, a lot of stuff was announced. So let's just go through this pretty quick. By the way, my name is Robbie. I'm here with Joey and I'm here with Max.
Yes, sir.
And let's get into this. Okay, so we've got 3 movies that were announced, right? So
that's the big headliner.
That's the big headliners, 3 movies. One of them, I think it's getting, some people aren't excited about it. But 2 of them, I think people are. One of them for sure for me. So let's talk about the one that I'm really excited about, which is the New Republic one. And Dave Filoni is going to actually direct his first, live action movie. Star Wars characters. He's never done it. And he's he's the go-to guy right now when it comes into that world. And he's been that go-to guy for a while, especially all the stuff he's done with Rebels and Clone Wars and stuff.
Help people who are not familiar, who are listening to the podcast, not familiar with what is the New Republic.
It's funny you said that. When I was talking to Melissa, she actually told me that I should actually do this ever so often.
Because you're assuming everybody knows,
I'm assuming,
right?
And people that listen to this aren't going to know this. Okay, so Dave Filoni, he was really George Lucas's right-hand man for a little bit, and he co-created Clone Wars with George Lucas, which is the Clone Wars cartoon that everybody loves, and that branched out into Rebels, and now you've got
Bad Batch,
but then also characters from those cartoons are now coming into like Ahsokatano's got her own show. It's basically branched off of Clone Wars and Rebels. Characters from Rebels, they're going to be in the Ahsokatano TV show.
Even Mandalorian.
In the Mandalorian.
Mandalorian that he does with
Bo
Favreau, but he created Bokatan. Like, he's a very important person in the Star Wars world, and he's the guy who's really riding the ship of all the mishaps from the sequel movies.
He's the keeper of the lore, I guess you could say, right?
You could say that.
He's absolutely. Yeah. He's without Dave, I feel like everything George Lucas
it would all be lost.
It would all be lost.
It would all be lost. Yeah. So it's pretty exciting that he's got his own movie, and I'm looking forward to that. And I think from what I can gather from it, this is everything that's happening in the live action TV shows right now with Mandalorian, Ahsoka Tano, Skeleton Crew, Boba Fett, all those things. They're all going to be in that universe. That's what his in.
Correct.
That timeline, that period.
That timeline. And I think every single thing that's going to be building from now on is going to lead up to this movie.
Yes.
That's exactly it.
Right? And so whether that's going to end all TV shows, which I highly doubt it, or end the New Republic era, which I also highly doubt, and maybe it branches off into 3 movies itself. Who knows? But either way, I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really cool movie for them to do, because again, like you said, building up all of these shows in their own independent way, and then just having this banger of a movie come out, that's going to be really cool. I'm stoked for that one too.
Yeah, because usually when they've done this on TV, who's the famous is the Flash universe, right, where they do those combo movies or crossover episodes on WB
with the Arrow,
Arrow and Supergirl, and
Supergirl, Flash.
Those are extremely popular, but those are still on the TV. They've never done it to the movie, so this is going to be very unique and could be really epic.
Also, the production value of those shows is nothing compared to what's happening on Disney. Yeah. So then to add all that stuff on there in that world, it's going to be great, especially with him leading the charge and directing it. So I'm super excited about that one.
And real quick before we move on, what I think is really cool, when we first got the announcement of Mandalorian, I remember they were like, "Oh, we're going to touch on like an area of Star Wars that you've never like heard of or seen before," which was really cool. And I feel like in season 1, you kind of felt that, but I'm actually really glad that they've taken this kind of whole thing in this New Republic era, because it's an area of Star Wars that you have no clue. You go from, the end of Return of the Jedi to all of a sudden Rey, and this is helping connect so many dots in such a huge time period.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's real. I'm glad they're doing this. I'm glad it wasn't just completely off in the outer rim, just the Mandalorian story, and there was no tie-in. I'm actually really stoked that they ended up tying all of this in.
Yeah, I am too. One of my biggest gripes from, I guess, Force Awakens is kind of like, how do we get from here to here?
Yeah.
And also, I still don't understand what the resistance is resisting. No one can ever tell me this. What are you resisting? Because the New Order is not really a government of any kind. It's not really
sure.
So you're not the rebels against the Empire, because the New Republic is still around.
Let's not even go there today.
Okay.
Robbie.
Anyways, moving on, because then
that's a whole other.
It's a whole other podcast. Okay, so the next movie I want to talk about is we just talked about the sequels. Let's talk about the Rey movie. So Rey's back.
Why?
Her name is Rey Skywalker. Let's not forget.
Why? It's not Skywalker.
Her last name is Skywalker. She's adopted herself.
Okay.
It takes place 15 years after Rise of Skywalker. So I am excited about this, and let me tell you why. Okay? Let me tell you why. I didn't mind Rey as a character. I just thought I didn't mind any of the new characters that they actually made in the sequels. I just didn't like how they handled them. And it would be interesting to see how they handle her, especially now that we've seen what Filoni's been doing. Let me rephrase that. Kathleen Kennedy has seen what Filoni's been doing with Star Wars and how people react to that. Now, take this character past all of the sequel stuff. Is she going to lean on Filoni? Is Filoni actually going to have a say in anything that's actually going? I know he's not directing it, but it'd be interesting to see what they do with her character now that you're seeing all the stuff that's being created in this universe and all of this stuff that Filoni and Favreau are a part of that's going over pretty well. I mean, it's not... Some of it, we have our gripes with it, but as a whole, it's 1,000 times better than what the sequels were. And we all came to find out later on in the sequels, not while they were being made, but by the end of them, that there was no plan. Like,
Correct.
They had no idea what they were actually doing. It was like, oh, okay, I'll direct a movie and then pass it to this person, and he can just do whatever he wants to do, and then this person can do whatever he wants to do. Now there needs to be a plan. And I don't think they're just going to bring Rey in for one movie.
I don't either.
It's going to be hopefully something that's planned out well, and they can utilize that character. And I'm kind of excited to see what they do with it. I don't think they would just bring her back because people, I don't think there was that big of an uproar of loving her or loving the sequels to bring her back. So I think there's going to be somewhat of a plan that'll hopefully they're thinking will correct what they did in the sequels.
And I think to your point of, with Filoni, he wasn't in the same position at Lucasfilm that he is now. So he was on set for those, but I don't think he had now he has creative control.
He was just there to help them try to correct lore. And I feel like while he was trying to do it, people were pushing him aside.
Of course.
Going, you don't know what you're talking about.
This isn't your movie. But now I feel like with his role at Lucasfilm, it's almost his role to make sure that things are kind of staying a course.
Yeah.
And so
I hope so.
And I hope
so. I got to be the bad guy here.
Yeah, no, right.
Someone needs to be.
You guys are the problem.
But hold on. Let me correct what I said though. Let me correct what I said. I'm not like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm excited about it. It's more curiosity. I'm excited.
That's much better.
I'm curious to see what and I really hope that this turns out well.
Because it's the Star Wars loving you that you.
That's exactly it.
There's a reason why. There's a reason why we continue to even rewatch the stuff that's bad because it's canon and we love the universe.
You're killing me.
Side note: I rewatched the last episode of Mandalorian 3 times. I still rated a 4. We can talk about that later, but just in the sake of talking about.
I know I bumped it up too, and
yeah,
I can't. And I told Kyle. I know Kyle, or actually, I had a conversation with Kyle. He was over at my house for Easter, and we talked about that episode in length and a bunch of other nerdy stuff. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I know. He actually agreed with my rating. He hated your guys' rating, and then when I said a 2, he's like, yeah, I was thinking a 2 also. Mine went up, and I told him that.
4 to 2 is not too far off.
I know, but mine went up drastically. I didn't even want to tell him what my number actually went up. And we could talk about that later. We'll talk about that when we're talking about the Mandalorian episode.
I gotta. You got. I'm telling you, we were talking about this offline. You Star Wars lifers. I don't know what to call you guys. You guys are part of the problem.
I like that. I'll take lifer. I like that.
Where's my T-shirt?
Part of the problem. She looks like a nice.
He's not wrong.
Nice actress. She's a meh actor, and the character's an even worse character than her meh acting.
I think her acting was. Her acting was good.
I have no problem with her
acting was good.
I don't have a problem with that.
This goes to the whole
memorable. It's meh.
Yeah, and it's not.
She had
just
some scenes
okay.
that she had some. Like,
Oh
I think,
gosh, no, she's meh.
it's really the overall story. It has nothing to do with her acting.
No.
It was the overall story and how they handled the characters.
Correct.
I liked Finn. I liked Poe. I liked Rey.
I like anything Star Wars.
That's
they
not
could put
true.
anybody. In
I
any
didn't like Jar Jar.
I
didn't like Jar Jar.
Now you do.
I didn't like half the Separatists. We can go over those if you want to.
No, I think you got you because you're lifers. Anything they give you in Star Wars world, you're gonna love and anticipate. It's gonna be great. But
I was
you gotta look at what they've been giving you. Why anticipate and believe it's gonna be great?
Yeah, you vote with your dollar. I hear you. You vote with your dollar.
That's how I live.
And
that's how I live through life, though. I want to believe that something's gonna be good. I believe in the good.
You know what? George Lucas taught us to have hope. Okay.
Yeah,
that's what.
And I'm looking for my new hope. I'm looking for my new hope right now. And my new hope would be 15 years after.
I don't understand why you could even continue this story with this character when
it's a KK thing, man. It's
the first 6 movies you're talking about some prophecy with Skywalkers ending the Sith. So why are we even keep going here with this character? It makes no sense.
This
to me.
isn't going to be considered.
I don't even care.
Like episode 10, did they?
No.
Okay, yeah, that's not considered. It's just.
I don't even need this character or this story moving past her at this point. Give us something new.
I was just at Disneyland today, and they have a Rey walking around right now. They kind of keep her relevant for a little bit longer. Also, they have Rey lightsabers now.
Yeah, no, they're leaning into it.
How many did you buy today?
I bought none. And my son was bummed. He really wanted a Rey lightsaber because it's yellow, and I was like, "Oh, we can't do it."
All right. Well, I think
you guys
talking about.
I can't wait to anticipate the movie coming out, and then if it's bad, you're gonna go crazy, and you're gonna enjoy going crazy for it.
Oh, absolutely.
And then they're gonna keep giving you another bad one, and you're gonna go right back down the cycle. And listen, I understand this. I am a Knicks and Jets fan, 2 tortured franchises, and people friends of mine have told me they're not going to change until you stop buying merchandise and going to the games and consuming.
Not wrong.
Like you said, vote into your products. But it's our love, and it's your Star Wars love. You're the guy who rates their space droids. I get it. I
do.
But
and they're astro droids.
They're astro droids.
Get it right if you're going to make fun of me, fucker.
You're damn space droids. But I'm looking forward to Dave's movie, but I have no care for Rey's movie. If everybody go see it and say it's phenomenal, I'll go see it. If not, I'll wait for it to be on Disney+. I'm not a Star Wars lifer. I love the IP, and I think they've been bastardizing the IP overall. And I love the stories.
I get that.
And I love the whole space, the sci-fi aspect of it. But I'm not one of those blind, loyalists. If I don't, I'm just not that interested in that at all. That story.
If all the stuff that has happened with like the Mandalorian show and everything's coming out with ahsokatano and stuff like that, if that wasn't around, if Filoni wasn't a part of that world right now, I would think that movie would be trash coming out. I'm not even kidding you.
No,
I would think the Rey movie would be trash.
Yeah.
Put a lot of faith in one man.
Because there wouldn't have been anything else to change my faith, because the last thing I would have looked at is episodes 7, 8, and 9 in that movie world, right? There would have been no shows or anything else to really look at.
Yep.
We would have had...
hope.
We would have had the season 7 of Clone Wars, really, and then some Bad Batch. That'd be it. I mean, if we're talking about just live action stuff,
but the live action stuff has not all been great. A lot of people complain about Obi-Wan. They don't. A lot of people complain about Boba Fett. Mandalorian season 3 has been very disappointing. I mean, there's been a lot
until tonight.
Hopefully.
No,
I hope so.
It is, but you're putting a lot of hope into for most part, if you put it all together, it's been meh until Ahsoka show, which has the most potential.
When is this movie
comes
dated?
And carries everything.
Hold on a second here.
So the Rey movie's, I think, supposed to be coming out in 2025, which is very fast.
Yeah.
Is that the first one out of the
three? It's gonna be the first one.
And then
like
I
Christmas
think,
2025 or something like that.
Yeah, and then I
Merry
think
Christmas.
it's gonna be the Dawn of the Jedi movie, and then I think it's gonna be. I think Filoni's is third.
Because they were talking,
but I know Rey's.
I think
first.
they said Filoni's thing is a 6 to 7 year put together for the movie. So I don't know if they're counting, time served with The Mandalorian started 3 years ago, and then another 3 years after that, or 6 years from where we are now.
Even if it's 6 from now, that would make sense, because if you have a 2025 and then a 2027, then a 2029.
Yeah, there's
They bounce it every 2 years.
There's just 6 years, so that still does make sense.
I got to be the keeper of time. We got to move on to something else here. All right, let's move on to the third movie.
I'm interested in this one.
Yeah, actually, Joey knows more about this movie than I do. So,
I'm actually really interested.
Take this away.
Well, so Dawn of the Jedi. There's a book called Dawn of the Jedi, and it takes place 25,000 years before the Battle of Yavin. So we're talking about 25,000 years before this current timeline. It's before Jedi are actually Jedi. It's called the Jedi, and it's in the book, in the lore, and obviously Disney likes to take kind of legends lore and put their own spin and their own characters and everything like that. But it was centered around the planet Tython, however you pronounce it, which was the planet that Din brought Grogu so Luke could find him. And that planet was kind of the center of everything during that timeline in terms of Force users. And then there's 2 moons that surround that planet, Ashla and Bogan. And those are, Ashla is the light side moon, Bogan's dark side moon. So those are the planet is the balance, and the moons are light side and dark side. And so they can take this a lot of different ways, but this is where it all started. It was where the religion started, and they're talking about it as it's going to be like the 10 Commandments. This is what this movie.
I think those are his inspiration for the movie. It's Ben-Hur and the 10 Commandments.
It's going to be really cool. It's going to be really cool.
And you were telling me offline, it's before lightsabers.
Yeah. They were using like Durasteel blades.
Hey, if it's done right, it's got a good story and the characters are there.
I love origin stories.
I like origin stories too.
And finding out how it becomes.
I also like, and this goes kind of back to like when we did the prequels on Still Holds Up, where you had a goal, you had an end goal. Like you knew where you needed it to end. So whatever you did in the middle, like whatever you did in there, it was kind of hard to fuck it up. Just as long as you showed like certain things, like how the Empire came in, or how the Emperor became into power.
What turned Vader?
What were the Clone Wars? How Vader, like blah blah whatever. So the reason why the sequels were so bad is because then you took those established characters and you kind of crapped on them. Now, if you take this lore and you basically push it, 25,000
years.
You could do whatever you want and not screw up
anything
what people love.
Yeah.
So that, and I think that's the reason why 7, 8, 9 was, for me, why it was so bad. For like, and we touched on a little bit on how they treated the new characters, but we didn't talk about how they crapped on the old characters. And I think that's what really upset a lot of people, is how those characters were treated, especially my boy Luke Skywalker. So now, if you push it all the way in the past to a point where it's, whatever you do, you could blow everybody up, and it wouldn't matter. Yeah. And so, but you can make a compelling story, and as long as it's something that we actually enjoy, then it should be fun.
Great potential.
And this is going to be like, this is like the big bang for the galaxy far, far away. Yeah. I mean, that's what this is going to be. I think they're going to take this again, it's before the Jedi was really the Jedi, and so they can give us quite literally origin stories of how Jedi became Jedi. What are the Sith? How did the Sith become Sith? Because the Sith were actually a species. They were a red species, and it kind of morphed into what we know of the Sith today. But they're going to give us literally the beginning of this entire galaxy far, far away, which is really cool. Yeah. And to your point, Robbie, they can pretty much do whatever they want with it because we have no preconceived notions. This one book that I read, and it focuses on, obviously a set character and basically her evolution and everything like that. But I doubt they're going to take her story. They're just going to take this timeline and kind of do their thing. But Coruscant was even around at the time. So, I mean, you're talking about, it probably obviously didn't look the same, but
you might see more of that peak of that mountain.
Yeah, for sure, right?
Did I beat you to it?
Yeah, you did.
Those are the 3 movies.
Okay. Boom. Well, I mean,
I'm super excited about
just in those 3 movies, I think there's enough to be excited about. Let's just say if they just had this convention celebration, whatever it was, and all you did was just talk about 3 movies, it's at least something to look forward to in the future, because the only movie that they announced before that was Rogue Squadron, which
they canceled.
But then they did talk to Kathleen Kennedy. She said that it could still happen.
Yeah.
So that's that may be still whatever, but that was really the only thing.
Was that Patty Jenkins? Was that one? The Patty Jenkins? Yeah.
And that was kind of interesting that like the previous celebrations, they weren't talking about really any movies, except for the TV shows. And even that movie wasn't going to necessarily have any Jedis or Force or Mandalorians or anything. It was just going to be like a Top Gun pilot kind of deal thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that even that wasn't really getting into like things that I think people in the Star Wars world were really looking forward to. All right, so let's touch base on some of these other things pretty quick. So
Ahsoka.
Before we get into Ahsoka,
damn it,
did you guys see the video of Hayden Christensen?
Yeah.
And how everybody cheered him.
Yeah,
and
he got emotional.
Teary and emotional.
That was so cool.
I loved that
So
because going in, this is going to go back to bad acting, but then also bad dialogue, backstory written. And we talked about this and still holds up when we talked about the prequels. I don't think Hayden Christensen did a bad job being Anakin Skywalker. He dealt, but he at least in Clone Wars and Attack of the Clones, the dialogue was so bad, and I think the directing was so bad as far as how they wanted him to act. It was like, dude, what else are you gonna do? But if you look at
how third at fault.
But then if you look at how he was in Revenge of the Sith,
he had better moments.
But that whole emotional ending thing where it's like, I hate you, and like the whole I think it took 7, 8, 9 to be so bad for people to then adore the prequels. And I think he was such a Star Wars fan that it really hurt him that he thought everybody hated him. To then get that, it was almost, they were all standing anyways, I think.
So it was kind of
saying I think he did.
He took a break from
acting. It was pretty cool to see. And
he bought a farm in Canada and said later.
Yeah,
dude.
He did.
But now you see him like he's come back. He did the really bad Obi-Wan show, but he's going to be ahsokatano, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So he's back in the Star Wars world, and I think that's awesome. And I thought that was pretty cool to see that video of him getting pretty emotional about it.
I do too, and I think it's kind of like a throwback how they brought Ahmed Best back because he got so much crap for the Jar Jar thing, which is the same thing. It's not his fault. He's an actor cast for a role, and I think it's cool they brought him in. They brought him in.
Did you see
that role?
Did you see why they brought him in? Did you see that video?
No.
Okay, so. It was an interview. It was an interview with Favreau and Filoni, and they talked to him about it, like why they brought him in. And they said, well, they needed to figure out. They needed a Jedi that would have saved him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they already, Favreau already knew of that show that he was doing.
Yeah.
What was it called again?
I don't remember. It was like
a Jedi training.
It was like the kid show,
kid show or something like that. And so he knew that character was already supposed to be kind of like helping the Padawans out, anyways.
Yeah.
And so. He thought it would have been cool, and he saw the reception that he had already gotten for doing that.
Okay.
And so that's how he kind of leaned into, let's bring him into this. And it made perfect sense. That was the Jedi that would have made perfect sense to bring in, and anybody else. That they looked at, like, with the whole thing with Grogu, what Jedi are floating around in the universe that they could bring in. And Luke Skywalker was the logical choice. And so they compared it to that. Like, which Jedi would have been the logical choice, and it was him. His character from that show. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's actually talk about the stuff that was announced. All right. So now we've got we have a release date for Ahsoka, which is going to come out this August.
So stoked.
Yeah. And in the trailer, we actually got to see Hera live action, Sabine live action, Chopper.
Dude.
Not just a little small cameo in the background of Rogue Squadron.
That was coul.
Or I'm sorry, Rogue One. We actually got to see him. Mon Mothma's in it.
Yeah.
Mon Mothma. You saw her in it, and then you saw like a video of Ezra, and then you saw there was a secondary trailer that was shown, and you see Sabine with Ezra's lightsaber.
Ooh.
Yeah. Did you see that? Did I send it to you? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you might have. I just don't have TikTok, so I don't see it.
So for people that aren't familiar with the Rebels show, so this is for you, Melissa. These are characters from the Rebels cartoon that were always considered canon. So seeing them with Ahsoka Tano, who was also Rebels and Clone Wars cartoon, bringing those characters into live action is such a big deal to the nerd universe.
Oh my gosh, it's insane.
Because those characters basically kept Star Wars going for us.
Yeah.
For 789 was trying to destroy Star Wars. Those cartoons were keeping Star Wars alive.
It's true.
Yes.
And I think with Rebels, it's again another kind of great point in time. Like, and it's the same thing kind of with Andor. Like, I love these points of time in the Star Wars universe. And I think this now to bring those characters to Ahsoka, which is, even further now, taking it further. I think this is going to be, I think the Ahsoka show is going to be mind blowing. And we were talking about production value and everything. Like, this is going to have all the bells and whistles, man.
And
this is going to be epic.
finally.
Well, Thrawn finally, and I like how they're bringing in this
and they
kind
showed
of like
Thrawn too in that video too.
They did,
He
and
looked sick.
Thrawn did look sick, and it was just from the back, which I liked him.
No.
They have another one with his face
in that video that I showed you. They showed Sabine with the lightsaber. They showed his face too. He looks good. You're gonna be excited.
Have to watch that. But I like how they're bringing in these kind of dark Jedis. These kind of like rogue Jedis that survived Order 66 and now have for whatever the reason they're with Thrawn. This is going to be dope. And I'm really glad they brought those kind of characters into play, not just Thrawn.
Okay.
He also was saying that the lightsaber was kind of a throwback to, did you hear him talk about
the orange lightsaber?
The kind of more orange.
A little bit.
Yeah,
and he basically
Balin's skull.
And he was basically saying that that's how he remembers Vader's lightsaber. And so it was done completely intentional. He wanted
see that.
He wanted it to have this almost
old posters and stuff.
And it's not fully dark side type of a thing, almost like how Kylo Ren's like spitting lightsaber was like he couldn't get his crystal to fully bleed or whatever the case may be with whatever they did with canon with the crystals, but it was kind of that same thing. It's not fully red.
Right. Right. Okay. This would be a good time for me to let the listeners know that, hey, if you like what you're listening to, and you want to help us or help support us make new content and keep this party going, check out our Patreon page. What's the link there?
It's patreon.com/rotyourbrainmedia.
Yeah. Please check it out. And, if you like what you're listening to, if you got money, help us out. If not, no worries. Just keep listening. Hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends. Help us spread like a virus.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. Okay. So now we've got Andor Season 2. That we got a release date for that, 2024. In August 2024.
Damn, really?
Yeah. Well, we knew it was going to be 2 years apart.
Yeah.
We knew it was going to be 2 years apart. And going off the first season, if anybody watched the first season, if it's anything like the first season, the second season will be totally fine. And they did say that the very last episode of the second season will lead directly into Rogue One.
Yeah.
So that'll be pretty cool. All right. So then we've got Acolytes. So they said that the release window is now, or I guess it was always 2024. They don't actually have like a release window or like a month or anything.
Yeah.
They said, this is interesting. It's Frozen meets Kill Bill.
I do not like that, and that's the first I've heard of that.
Well, let's see what happens with that.
Frozen meets Kill Bill. Why would they even say that?
It's Disney.
It's Disney, man. They got to throw in their Frozen there for a little bit and then give a little shout out to Quentin Tarantino, I guess. I'm not really too sure.
That's a little frightening.
Yeah. I'm sure we can do a little bit more of a deep dive into that if we want to at some point. I'm trying to see if I've gotten anything in here.
So here's the cool thing, just briefly, of why I'm stoked on Acolyte. And now I'm kind of worried, but timeline-wise with Acolyte, they're supposed to be going 100 years before what?
Okay, so this is what I got. Hold on really fast before I keep going. This is quoted from the director or the show creator. What's her name? Why isn't it having Leslie Headland?
Mm-hmm.
She said, "What I pitched to Kathleen Kennedy was Frozen meets Kill Bill. Shockingly, she didn't get kicked, or Kathleen Kennedy didn't kick me out of the building." Headland said, "It's a High Republic near the beginning of the prequels and an exciting part of the timeline. This is when the bad guys are outnumbered. They are the underdogs. I'm really excited for you guys." Okay. So I'm not really sure how that meets, or in that description, how it's Frozen meets Kill Bill. I was really hoping for a little bit more. Maybe I should have read a little bit further than that. I don't know how you can make that happen, but hey, it's something new in the Star Wars world.
Well, and the reason I think, you're right. And I think she's right in that it's an exciting part of the timeline, because when you think about, Sidious, Palpatine, he was, in his 50s and 60s when, episode 1 happened. So if you go back to his master, Darth Plagueis, who was quite old when he had it, and then his master was a Bith who was like in his 200s.
Yeah.
You could actually go back, and I doubt they're going to talk directly about him with Darth Tenebris. They're probably going to have other characters, but nonetheless, you're going to bring 100 years really isn't that long. So they could very easily, if this goes multiple seasons, they could have Acolyte end with kind of a Plagueis Palpatine thing. They could take it right to episode 1, right to Phantom Menace, which is kind of a cool concept, just like they're talking about doing with all these other shows. They could take this right to the front door of Phantom Menace.
What about the media they're talking about doing during the Old Republic? I would really be into that.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I found another thing. Okay, so IGN says on an IGN article, hold on. So when she was pressured to kind of tell a little bit more about it, she says so much of it was about the sister relationship. So much of it was about the villain actually being a powerful, misunderstood woman. There was just so much of it that I couldn't believe what I was watching. I couldn't believe that it was a cartoon with music. It was hitting me on such a deep level and yet serving the genre so well. As for Kill Bill, I think it's a really good reference for the modern day martial arts film, Hedlund explained. Obviously, Tarantino took inspiration from a lot of movies that our action team and a lot of our design team pulled from that, which is stuff from the Shaw Brothers to Akira in the samurai films, but also films like Ang Lee's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
So that's why She-Wars was trending all weekend on Star Wars? Because of the sister story?
I guess so. I don't know.
Well, you should see Joey's face. I can't wait until we start recording this stuff.
Video, hopefully next week. Next week. All right, so Skeleton Crew. Let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Skeleton Crew gets its first reveal at the Star Wars Celebration.
I actually feel like I know nothing about this. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, so obviously it's the main character or the main star is Jude Law.
Yeah.
Let's see. It's focused on a young cast. So from what I've read, it's supposed to have a Goonies kind of feel.
Yeah, I remember hearing
that intrigues me. Put Goonies in the Star Wars world. Let's see what happens if you get in some little bit of mischief. But what's interesting is I believe Skeleton Crew takes place in the same universe as same timeline as Mandalorian and Boba Fett and Ahsoka and stuff.
It's just supposed to be like in the unknown regions, which is where they're saying Thrawn is.
Right. And so they did introduce the actors, showed the characters and stuff. There's cool pictures. Obviously, we can't show that because we're not in video right now. I mean, I'm intrigued by it. I mean,
I am too.
Probably a little bit more than what I just read by Acolytes.
Yeah, because she said Frozen meets Kill Bill. If that was left out, we'd be pumped on Acolyte and not on Skeleton Crew. But yes.
Let's see how that develops.
Did they put a date to Skeleton Crew? Is it 2024?
It said it's still set to arrive in 2023.
Oh, word.
Yeah, but it doesn't actually have a month.
So it'll be the end.
Probably.
Yeah. My guess is if they do the same thing they did with Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Boba Fett came out, December something?
Yeah. And especially if Ahsoka comes August. So we'll get Ahsoka August, September, maybe into October, and then they'll make us wait till,
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's also got Bryce
Ahsoka shows 6 episodes or 8 or something like that. It's not a lot of episodes.
Skeleton?
No, Ahsoka shows not a lot of episodes.
Oh.
But they also said,
how many episodes did they say?
I think it was either 6 or 8. But
it's got to be 8. Well, the
real thing is it's going to be about 30 minins long per episode, just like The Mandalorian. 30 to 40 minutes long. They're not like hour
Well, we're about to watch 50, so let's get going.
And it's probably up right now.
You got they announced the directors, John Watts, which I believe he's Spider-Man, right? The John Watts?
Don't look at me.
I think so. Bryce Dallas Howard, she's going to direct a couple
episodes.
Yeah, so they got their people in place. I mean, obviously they've already directed them because it's already gone through like the post and pre-production stuff like that. So I mean, if it's going to release at the end of this year, they got to be just putting the finishing touches on special effects.
Yeah,
it takes a little bit to do that. So I'm stoked about that. They did say there's a second season of. Moving on to the next thing. Sorry,
no, it's all good.
They did say Tales of the Jedi is getting a second season officially, which I'm
pumped.
I'm awesome. I'm super excited about that because I loved getting more of a backstory on Count Dooku, and then also seeing how they found Ahsoka, and then how Ahsoka decides to get back in the game.
Yeah.
Because we saw at the end of Clone Wars, for people that don't watch the cartoons and everything, and Ahsoka, who's going to have her own show, she was Anakin Skywalker's apprentice that you saw in that cartoon. Anyways, at the end of that cartoon, she decides it looks like she just gives up being a Jedi. She throws down her lightsabers and she kind of like makes it seem like she died. And so she kind of goes into hiding.
She did that on purpose.
She did it on purpose. With Tales of the Jedi, you get to see what she was actually doing in that time of kind of
refining herself,
I guess that would be. And then also what event happened to get her kind of back in the game, which is pretty cool. But I really liked the Dooku stuff that was in that. I loved seeing what happened to Yaddle.
Yeah. Well, they changed
Grogu's mom,
and they changed that. That wasn't canon. They changed canon for that. Yaddle technically was like in books died saving Anakin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she like gave her life. Like there was like a charge that was thrown, and she basically consumed it to save Anakin. So they changed, which is fine. I mean, I actually like how they changed this, making it that was how Dooku. So I'm stoked for season 2 as well. Yeah, super stoked.
That's pretty awesome. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Bad Batch. So Bad Batch is coming for a 3rd and final season.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and I guess they did show a trailer for it, at least for some stuff of it.
Oh, that's cool. Did they give a date?
My guess is, or I think they did say it's 2024. I don't think they actually said
probably the end
month. My guess would be it would come out in February. I think this is when season 2 came out, was in February. I think so. I think they'll probably just copy it and do the same thing. Visions 2, or I'm sorry, Star Wars Visions Volume 2.
That comes out on May the 4th.
Yeah, that comes out May the 4th.
Yeah.
So that's pretty soon.
Visions is kind of like whatever to me. Like it's entertaining because it's different, but like I'm never really pumped on it. I feel like it doesn't really push any like needle forward for me.
Because it's not moving anything that's actually any of the characters that are current.
No, but it is fun. And
I'm actually not even sure if the stuff that's happening in there is canon. I think it's just legends, isn't it? Did they actually say if it's canon or not?
I don't know. I always kind of just figure anything they do is considered canon, but I'm not sure.
There was some cool. I did see the trailer for this, and it did show some stuff that looked like there was some cool. I think stop animation was in there.
It almost looked like video game. Is that what that is? Like,
no, stop animation is more like clay stop animation, like Shaun the Sheep. You watch Shaun the Sheep?
No.
Shaun the Sheep. What is that?
Shaun the Sheep. I used to watch with my kids.
Age, you could have said Gumby or something.
You mean like Celebrity Deathmatch?
Gumby, Celebrity Deathmatch.
There we go.
I forgot he's like 10 years younger.
I think I saw some stop motion claymation kind of stuff. There's some hand
drawn.
You have
no idea who Gumby is, do you?
CGI.
I know who Gumby is.
Better know who Gumby is.
Yeah. I never watched it, but I know who he is. But wait, didn't you see in the trailer? It almost looked like the Old Republic video game stuff. Like some of it looked like it was actually really like clean, awesome animation.
Yeah, because Volume 1 had a bunch of different types of animators and stuff in there.
Yeah.
I think they pulled more of a vast selection, so you'll still see a lot of Japanese anime stuff, but then you're going to see some CGI stuff.
Okay,
the claymation stop animation stuff.
That's kind of cool.
I think there's actually stuff in there that looks like Clone Wars, that the Filoni Clone Wars
vibe,
Jedi Tales stuff. I think they're just every episode's gonna pull from a lot. Did you ever see the Matrix? Animatrix? Was it Animatrix? Was that what it's called?
Something like that.
Animatrix. No. Did you like the Matrix?
I love the Matrix.
Then you didn't see Animatrix?
No.
Yeah, it came out a couple years after.
Okay.
It's a compilation of a bunch of artists or cartoonists, I guess, and they did a whole bunch of stuff that was supposed to be in the Matrix lore, and one of them actually shows how the war actually starts between the humans.
Oh, cool!
Or the humans and the machines, and it's pretty awesome. There's some stuff in there, some of it's stinkers, but
Animatrix 2003.
Yeah, check it out, dude.
2003.
It's on HBO Max, I'm pretty sure, which is now going to be called Max pretty soon. Great name. There was another thing that I don't have my list, but I think they announced it in the later days. It looks like a kid's show. I sent you, Max. Maybe I sent it to you also.
Yeah. I've watched it.
It's a Jedi. It's like Jedi Academy kind of thing or something like that. I think it's the same guys. I don't know if you guys have kids. I don't know if they're watching it. Did they watch the Spidey and Friends show?
Yeah,
Disney Plus. I think it's made by the same people.
Yeah, I sent it to you today.
Yeah, and I think those are also the ones that did the Peter Pan. It's not Peter Pan. It's Jack. Is it Jack? Jake and the Neverland Pirates.
No,
it's another show that I think they did before Spidey or the Spidey show.
The internet had fun with that cartoon trailer today.
Did they?
They said the last scene, and they posted when Anakin, Hayden Christensen's walking.
Oh boy!
Oh man!
Poor guy. These poor little kids don't know what's their fate that lies ahead of them.
Oh man!
The internet had a lot of fun with that.
That'll be a cute show for little ones.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think my kids
don't
are gonna
let them
love
know
it.
what happens to those poor little kids at the end.
Oh man!
Anakin.
So, a couple other things really fast. Kathleen Kennedy was asked about Taika Waititi. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
Taika Waititi.
That was not bad.
Waititi. Okay. She said it's still working. It's still a ways away, but it's still a work in progress. So that was not canceled because they didn't announce his movie there, but they did ask her and they said it's still in the works. Also, Calrissian show, that's also still in the works.
Wait, what?
Lando Calrissian show? Lando show?
Really?
You didn't know about this?
No.
There's a Lando show?
Yeah,
like that's for real? Like they
Glover?
confirmed it?
Yeah, Donald Glover.
I know they've been talking, kind of talking shit about it.
It's a thing. Yeah. So
what's his name wants to do another season of Obi-Wan.
Oh, and they talked about, let's not jump the gun on that.
I think they said nah.
No, they're in talks about it.
She said he says he wants to do it. Kennedy said they're not ready to do it yet. But she also said that it was well received, which really blew my mind. Well, IGN liked it. And
she did say it was well received.
Stuff from them right now.
There could be a second season.
She's not going to say it wasn't well received.
Yeah.
That's definitely true. No, she did.
You'd rather not mention it at all.
They've said that like the sequels weren't well received. Didn't they come out and say that?
I don't think so.
No.
You would never say that about your product.
Nah, dude.
Either you don't talk about your product or you say it was well received.
And you know why Homegirl's doubling down with the freaking Rey movie. So there's your,
Yeah, there's your.
All right. Well, anyways, the Lando Calrissian series is definitely still happening.
Dope.
That'll
be cool.
Which is good because I like the Solo movie.
So did I.
And I'm actually curious. Maybe they still bring in Solo, the actor that played Solo, and kind of bring him in a little bit and maybe a couple episodes. Kind of maybe because it ended with an open question
with Maul too, just showing Maul
kind of showing up a little bit. It'd be kind of I would hope they would kind of just end that, like you have a closure to that.
Yeah,
it's an open-ended thing that they did. And I want to see some closure to it. And that'll give them the opportunity to do it. Whether they actually do it or not, I have no idea. Most likely they won't. Okay. There's some other little things that they show. They show some footage of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which is pretty cool. We don't need to go into that too much. We got to end this pretty quick because it's already midnight. We got to watch the new episode of Mandalorian.
They released a bunch of books, which I don't know if you saw that, but like there was like 10 books. The list of them were like, there wasn't anything super crazy, nothing really to write.
You're big
home
on
about,
the books, right?
I love reading the books. I feel like you get so much more from them. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you guys like or have watched Harry Potter, but like all the Harry Potter movies are great. But if you've ever read all the books,
I'm actually playing Hogwarts right now,
which I've heard is epic.
Well, guess
Hogwarts
what?
is epic.
HBO is launching a Harry Potter show, where each book will be a season.
Oh, cool! So because the books though are leaps and bounds over the movies.
And that's why people are excited about that, because they're saying that giving each season each book has a dedicated season. I'll give them runway to hit every single thing that's in the books. And for me, who hasn't read the books, I've heard that many times. Oh, dude, I don't got time, man. I had kids before you.
The amount of movies you watch, you have time to read books too, okay?
Dude, if I start reading a book at midnight, this is what I watch movies and I watch TV shows is 11 or midnight when everybody else is asleep. Sure. I would pass out after the second page.
Well, here's the thing.
I would never get anything done.
But movie 1 and 2 were almost identical to the book. As soon as you get to book 3, it like doubled in size. You get like there's so much shit.
Is that also when they changed directors though too? Wasn't it Columbus who did 1 and 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe that's what happened. They changed the director. Also,
just the size of the books, though. To squeeze it all even into 3 hours is impossible.
When I first heard that, I know this is we're talking about Star Wars, but it's nerd world, so we can talk about that for a second. I was actually a little bummed out that they were talking about already kind of like rebooting, I guess, the Harry Potter movies.
It's been a minute, though.
But then when you think about it, I mean, I was actually kind of hoping they were actually going to do the play. What was the play?
The play,
which is some people consider it 8, book 8. It's the Child or whatever that's called.
Sorcerer's Stone was 2001.
Yeah,
right? 2001. We're talking about people born then are adults, man. It's been a long time.
Anyways, hold on.
2001.
You made me lose train of thought. All right, it's probably fine. Anyways, all right. Look, we got to wrap this up.
I was 11.
You were 11? Oh my goodness.
I don't want to talk to you anymore.
So it's okay if they reboot Harry Potter.
I was 11 when it came out.
How often do they reboot Batman? Every 4 years?
True that.
Well, that's how Warner Brothers makes their money in DC. They don't know how else to do it.
All right, what else you got? Hit it, Robbie.
That's pretty much it. There's maybe some other little things, but I think that's the gist of it.
That seems like the big
overall,
stuff.
It's a lot of exciting stuff. I mean, some stuff, I think all of it's actually pretty exciting, even the Rey thing, which I think if you look at all that stuff, I guess that could be the biggest downer that people could look at.
Star Wars reading the dictionary would be exciting.
And it's a good thing that hopefully that'll change your mind. And then also, they did show the Indiana Jones Style of Destiny trailer, which he's
why
Indiana
did they
Jones
put that in there?
Because it's also Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Lucasfilm is really known for Star Wars.
Yeah, and
Indiana Jones. There's not really much else in there. But this is a good time to wrap this because we got to go watch Mandalorian. Thank you, everybody who's listening. Thank you, everybody who's subscribing. If you're not subscribing, please subscribe. Thank you to everybody who's checked out our Patreon page. If you haven't checked it out, please do. If you like the content you're listening to, help support us. Help support us make new content. We're trying to get into the video world, which we're hopefully going to be starting soon. We also have new ideas for new shows that we're trying to get off the ground. Your support helps, even just if it's click the like button, the follow button, whatever the case is. If it gives us enough money for some coffee, great. If not, no worries. Just be in our universe.
Coffee?
Really helps a lot.
How about a beer?
How about a beer? Well, we got wine right now, so we're good to go.
Got the wine.
Thank you, Joey, for jumping in and helping us out. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. What's the tagline for our Patreon page again?
Patreon.com/rotyourbrainmedia.
Excellent. Thank you, Max.
Thanks. We're on YouTube now.
We're on YouTube now.
Another place to consume the podcast.
Yep. YouTube is apparently it's blowing up for us, which is pretty awesome.
Rot Your Brain Media, right there. You'll get all our shows, our episodes, neatly in podcast form, playlist style. So you could listen to, let's say the Extremists. If you want to listen to just the Last of Us episodes, you can listen to them, in consecutive order. Or if you want to listen to Mandalorian, we're going to be doing Severance, Ahsoka, and some other cool stuff.
Yeah,
so
we bounce around. We don't just stay in the Star Wars world. We bounce around whichever, because at the end of the day, we're dads, and we just like what we like. And sometimes it's Star Wars, sometimes it's video game stuff, sometimes it's Severance, sometimes it's HBO stuff, Netflix, whatever the case is.
Sometimes it's Frozen meets Kill Bill.
Sometimes, hopefully, it's Frozen meets Kill Bill.
Nice.
Fucking better.
And
together.
On that note, thank you, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
Music composed by Kyle Torme. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Extremist coverage of The Mandalorian. Subscribe to the Extremist podcast feed at rotyourbrainmedia.com/The Extremist. Subscribe to Rot Your Brain Media feed at rotyourbrainmedia.com and support Rot Your Brain Media by visiting patreon.com/rotyourbrainmedia.